Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. We have General Manager Mike Grier on the call to talk about the recent trade. We'll turn it over to Mike to start before we open it up for questions. So, Mike, take it away.
Hopping on a Sunday, appreciate it. But first off, I just wanted to thank Hasso and Jonathan for their support throughout this process. It's been a long, kind of a long grind throughout not only the regular season but the summer to get this done, and their support through this whole thing has been great. And I also want to wish Erik the best. Him and his wife Melinda and their family. Wish them all the best and good luck and health and success and happiness in Pittsburgh. I really enjoyed working with Erik and getting to know him personally and watching the type of year. I'll some questions.
Apologies, everyone. We just got some internet. We'll be navigating here. So we'll go ahead and open it up to Sheng.
Hey, Mike, how's it going? How much coffee have you had the last couple of days to get this done?
It's been a long while. We've been going at it for a while, trying to get this done. So with a few teams, and Kyle's been pretty upfront and aggressive for the last couple of months. But it's been a little bit of a grind, and getting off the airplane yesterday and working into the night and early morning today to get it done. So I think happy to get it done with.
How many teams, you alluded to this, how many teams would you say were seriously interested in Erik?
Really came down, it was probably down to two teams that were really more aggressive and trying to land the player.
Looking at sort of how much you guys have retained and also the contracts of Mikael and Jan and Mike Hoffman here. It looks like there's a kind of a focus on trying to clear cap space for 2025, 26 and on. Also, too, tying that into some of your recent trade acquisitions, older prospects like Shakir Mukhamadullin and Henry Thrun. You've talked about trying to turn this thing over faster. So, was that sort of a goal to basically, not that you guys aren't trying to compete now, but to really, clear the books for 3 years from now and really get things, hopefully, going right there?
Sorry, I lost you for a sec. Yeah, we, having the ability to have some cap flexibility and financial flexibility was really important for us moving forward to kind of goals in this whole process was to give us that in the years to come. So I think we're pretty happy that we were able to do that.
Was there any thought of retaining more to get more back for Erik Karlsson potentially, or that really wasn't heavily under consideration?
I mean, we kind of looked at all different scenarios and options. But like we kind of just talked about, clearing that cap space and having the flexibility to get involved and make some moves down the line was one of the main priorities of this deal.
And finally, timing of this trade. Was there any likelihood or serious thought to starting the season with Erik, or was it likely, whether for Erik or the franchise's mindset, that you guys just wanted to kind of start afresh before the season started?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's probably better for everyone that we got this done before the season started. But at the same time, we were prepared to go in the season with Erik on the roster and have him in camp and prepared to go. And I'm sure it wouldn't be his, what he wanted to happen or what he wanted to do. So we kind of worked to get it over with, but we're come to and move on.
Mike, we've kind of had you in and out here, but we'll go to Greg.
Hey, thanks a lot. Hey, Mike, I was wondering if you could go into a little bit more detail on how we ended up with 13% retention. Was that the Penguins coming down, you guys going up? What was sort of the background on that number?
We had kind of all sorts of teams offer up scenarios on what you're on the retention number. We wanted to get it as low as possible, obviously. So I think there was a little bit of his side to get this done, and the retention and things like that were a big part of it.
Hey, Mike, unfortunately, we're having a real challenge on the Zoom. I'm wondering if maybe if you wouldn't mind if we have you disconnect from here and call in using your phone and just do audio only. I think we might have a better result there. Unfortunately, some of the answers are cutting in and out, and we're not able to make out much. So apologies, everybody, for the quality of the call. We're just dealing with the technology here. But if you wouldn't mind, if you use that same link, but just do it from your cell phone, and let's try that.
Okay.
We'll stand by.
Well, I could ask again. That's fine, okay. Mike. Appreciate you hanging in there, Mike. The question was about the 13% or so that was retained, and whether or not you guys came up or the Penguins came down in their ask as far as how you ended up in that number.
Yeah, there was a lot of, throughout the process, there was a lot of teams asking us to retain a lot of salary, and we weren't. It was something we really didn't want to do. Kind of what I talked about with Shang's question a little bit earlier. We wanted to kind of be able to have some cap flexibility and financial flexibility to add players down the road that fit what we wanted to do. So we didn't really want to go down that path of retaining a lot of money. And Kyle was aggressive, but Kyle was, I think he was really willing to make some concessions on his stand to make this whole thing work. So I think, I think both sides made concessions on, not only the retention number, but, the package in general, just, to get the deal done.
We'll go back to Shang. I know we had some issues with some of your questions, so go ahead, Shang.
Yeah, appreciate that. I'll just ask a couple here. I heard some of the answer, but I just wanted to be clear, sort of when we're talking about a longer rebuild versus turning around faster, which you've talked about, Mike. And so in terms of just the contracts you guys acquired, no more than two more years left. How important is that in 2025, 26, when your cap sheet looks like it's going to be pretty clear to, just have that flexibility?
Yeah, I think it's important for us to be able to have the flexibility to go out and acquire players either in free agency or through trades. Whenever these situations pop up where there's a good player available, I think we'll be at the point where we'll have the resources both with the money and and assets to maybe get involved to try and acquire those types of players. So the flexibility was extremely important for us.
And is that related also to your kind of focus on acquiring, to some degree, older prospects, guys who are more closer to NHL ready, like Henry Thrun and Shakir Mukhamadullin, Hotiak, guys like that?
I mean, I guess I don't know if it's if they're tied together completely. I think just sometimes, when you are acquiring these players, they're just a little further along in their development curve. So you have, a little bit better idea of what they may become or what they, where they are, and you can kind of project them a little bit better than, maybe if you are still trying to acquire those 18, 19-year-old kids who still have a lot of a longer road ahead of them. So, some of these guys like Nikita and Shaq and Henry, they're just a little bit further along. So I think we had just a better idea of what they could be, and they're just a little further along down their path.
And then finally, talking about salary retention, obviously, Hasso Plattner, he's a big part of that because it's his money. And so in terms of just how much you guys are willing to retain, just how much was Hasso involved in that in terms of just maybe not retaining as much and, potentially getting more back?
He was involved throughout the whole process. Hasso he's very passionate about the Sharks, and he wants to win. So, we went through this whole thing together, and I think we decided, that the best path forward was to maintain that financial flexibility down the road, and be able to move forward that way and be involved and be able to hopefully acquire some players down the road and not having a ton of dead money on our books and kind of hanging over our head that might prevent us from doing something or getting involved in something that we would like to.
Curtis?
Hey, Mike, thanks for doing this here. There was a report that maybe a deal between the Sharks and the Penguins was almost completed right around the draft. Was that accurate to say? And what was the holdup at that point?
No, that wasn't accurate. We weren't close at the draft to doing anything.
Was you mentioned the sort of weighing between a prospect, getting an older prospect and a pick? Was that sort of the option you had? Did you have the option of maybe getting a more of an older prospect or a draft pick, I guess?
In this particular trade, I think we targeted a first round pick and something having the possibility of having 2 firsts in this draft and having 4 picks in the first 2 rounds is something that we were looking to do and really appealing to us. So in this instance, we kind of targeted the first round pick, and we were happy to be able to get it. Where obviously in some of the other things we've done, we've gone after some of the older prospects.
How much does this deal have to change the way the Sharks play, I guess? I mean, obviously so much has come from the back end, going back to when, Brent Burns was here. How much does this change the way that the Sharks play? And do you need now more from your forward group, considering the additions you've made up front?
I think for sure we'll need, everyone's going to have to chip in. You're not just going to replace the productivity of someone like Erik. So our guys who are on the back end are going to have to chip in, but for sure we're going to need a little bit more from our forward group, and the guys that we've brought in here today have both of them have proven track records of scoring goals in the league. So, I think they'll be able to help our power play out a bit and help our 5-on-5 game out a bit. And then, some of the guys will hopefully have some bounce back seasons who weren't happy with their year last year. And then some of our young players, hopefully they take a step in their development as well. And, it'll definitely be, I would say more of a committee committee thing than, relying so much on one guy to drive the offense as, at times that was the case last year.
I'm sure David Quinn is putting together some line combinations right now, but how do you kind of see Granlund fitting in? Do you see him more of a centerman or maybe more on the wing, or how do you kind of see things for him?
At the end of the day, that'll be a decision Quinny and his staff will have to make, but I think that's one of the strong points of him as a player is that he's got the ability to play wing and center, and he does them both pretty well, and he plays a strong two-way game. So, we'll have to see how training camp goes and see who he gels with and things like that. But, I think there's a possibility he could be a top six winger, or he could be a center as well. So, we'll have to wait and see how it goes, see how camp goes.
I know you said in the past you don't want to block the path of some of the younger guys, but I think you have 12 forwards and 7D on one-way deals. Is there still an avenue for some of the guys on entry-level contracts to make this team out of camp?
Absolutely. Like I said kind of from day one, it's all about competition for me, and we'll have a competitive training camp. Even the guys, we do have guys on one-way contracts, but these guys are going to have to earn their spots. And for the young players, I expect them to come in hungry and ready. And if they perform and outplay, veteran guys, then, they'll get the opportunity, and we'll figure the rest out. For sure, I don't want to block anyone's pathway. If our young guys have put in the time this summer and trained and come to camp and they're better, then they'll get the opportunity. That's, for me, that's what the game is about. And these guys, they have to take the job. We're not going to give them a job because of their prospect pedigree or where they're drafted. They need to come to camp and take the job away from the veteran, and the veteran's got to do his best to hold on to the job. And that's what camp will be about. So there'll still be plenty of opportunity for these guys to earn a place on the team, and it's going to be up to them to show that they're ready and to take the opportunity.
Do you anticipate making any other moves before camp, or is this kind of the group you have? And if it is the kind of the group you have, what are your expectations for this year?
As always, I'll always look to try and make the team better or do what's right for the organization. So while I'm not at the moment planning on doing anything, I'm sure we'll see if anything comes up with as we move forward. If there's something that's presented to us that makes sense, we'll definitely look at it. But my expectation for the group is the same as it's always been. I think it's Quinny wants to win, Hossa wants to win, I want to win, the players want to win. So I think the expectation is that these guys come in, they compete hard and play hard every day and try and win hockey games. And we'll see what happens. I think the group did a great job last year of, pretty much showing up to work and playing hard, every single day for the most part. So that expectation hasn't changed. That's part of the culture that we're trying to establish here and build here is that work ethic and that competitive nature and playing hard every night. And, I expect more of the same. And I think some of the guys we've added should only, kind of add to that. We've added, all sorts of different types of players, some goal scorers, some speed, some toughness, some grit, some two-way players. We've added all sorts of different types of players to the group. So we'll get them all together and keep building on what, the kind of the standard and the culture that we started building last year, and take it from there, and we'll see what happens.
Sorry, and just one more for me, but was it a challenge at all to stay patient throughout this process to make sure you got the deal that you wanted? Just, obviously, like you said, you could have had this deal done a long time ago if other teams proposed, if you liked other teams' proposals, but Was it a bit of a challenge just to stay patient throughout this process, I guess?
Maybe a little bit. Yeah, I think there was, there'd been times you wish you could kind of push forward and maybe get something done, and and maybe there was a few times maybe we're starting to make progress and something that happened and we'd take a step back and not be able to do it. But at the end of the day, I think it was necessary to kind of have a little bit of patience and get a deal that we're at the end of the day that we're pretty happy with. And I think Kyle's on the same thing. And we talking to Kyle a ton over the last few weeks, and along with some other teams. But I know I'm sure Kyle's happy to put this to bed as well. And I think he's got a good player, and we got a first round pick and some good NHL players back and some cap flexibility down the road. So I think we're pretty happy as well.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thanks.
We'll go to Michael.
All right. Good afternoon, Mike. Also, congratulations on making it through year one of your historic post. But my question is, are you at least worried about a possible fans revolt like they have in Oakland, where they look at this team being frugal, but they're getting rid of a lot of these star players? And where are we going? What direction are we going? Are we really being competitive, or are we being more money-wise and penny pinching? So how would you surmise that scenario?
Well, I think they're two different situations. Hasso wants to win. I think he's willing to spin to the cap. I think he's spin to the cap the majority of the years he's been in charge. So it's a little bit of a different situation. So I think the fans here are knowledgeable enough to kind of realize what we're doing here, that we were lucky to have such a long run of sustained success and playoff success and regular season success, so that at some point you got to kind of pay the price for all that, and that's kind of where we are in a cycle as a franchise. But I think the guys played hard all last year. They were competitive, they were entertaining games. We probably should have done a little bit better than finished a little bit better than our record showed, but that is what it is. And the other part of it of players, whether that's Bernsey and Erik, those are guys that kind of that are starting to head into the twilight of their career, and they wanted a chance to try and compete for a Stanley Cup, and I understand that. Unfortunately, that's not where we are. So some of these things have to happen business wise, and Timo's not too much different, where there's a market, and you have to be wise about how you're spending your money and when to spend your money and the timing of it. So I don't think we're penny pinching or being frugal at all. I think this is just part of where we are in our franchise cycle, and like I said, Hasso's wants to win, loves the Sharks, loves San Jose, the city, and wants to bring a Stanley Cup here. So this is kind of just part of the process of us trying to do that and get back to the level that was sustained here for so long.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, you mentioned Brent Burns. I just was curious, just how would you kind of, compare both trades, or the challenges of them or whatnot? Because, both obviously top right-handed defensemen, Sharks cornerstones. Just how would you compare those two trades?
I mean, they're both kind of a little different. I think there's lots of different variables in each deal, with the money and the term, the money, the age of the players, all that thing. So there's different variables, but I will say the same. The one kind of similarity in both things is that there was a limited marketplace for both players. Good teams and teams that are competing for the Stanley Cup in this flat cap world that we're kind of stuck in right now, and the reality of teams not having a lot of money. There just wasn't a huge market for either player for, these, we're talking about two all-star type players and Norris Trophy winners. And at the end of the day, just the economics of the league, where the league is right now, kind of made it where, there wasn't a huge market for either one. So, which kind of made doing the deals probably a little bit more challenging than maybe they should have been or could have been.
And speaking of kind of those two again, there's a clear offensive void on your blue line now. Obviously, you're not asking anybody to replace a Karlsson or a Burns, but how do you go about sort of making up for some of that production? Is this going to be strictly kind of internal, or do you have anything else in mind?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's going to be internal. We'll give these guys opportunity at training camp and exhibition games, and to kind of take a little bit more responsibility and try and chip in a little bit more offensively. But at the same time, these guys they're in the league for a reason, and they're on our team for a reason. And for most of them, it's not to be an offensive player. So sometimes players can fall into that trap where they try and do too much and they change their game, and it becomes something that is not beneficial to them or the team. So those guys will all get a chance to probably get a little bit more ice time, get a little, I'm sure there'll be some power play battles for that ice time and things like that. So at the moment, it's going to be an internal battle, but at the same time, we'll still be on the lookout for trying to maybe add something, whether that's this year or in the future, someone that can probably bring a little bit more offense to the back end.
And I think you were asked about Mikael Granlund. What do you anticipate is Mike Hoffman and Jan Rutta's role on the Sharks?
Well, Jan's someone he's a steady, right shot D. I think coaches wherever he goes enjoy coaching him and end up depending on him. I think he'll be good on special teams. He is someone who might be able to give us a little bit of power play as well as the penalty kill. I'm sure he'll end up being a staple on the penalty kill. He's someone who's a high character guy, and he's won two Stanley Cups, and I don't think that can be overstated enough. I think whenever you can bring guys who have won and know what it takes to win in this league and have gone through that battle, and not only to win it once but to win it twice, I think that's a pretty valuable thing to bring into our locker room too, especially with some of our younger guys as they come up through the system and are in the room. So it's pretty valuable to have him. And for Hoffman, he's always scored, and I think he'll continue to do the same here. He'll obviously get an opportunity to play with good centermen and get power play time and things like that. So my expectation that he comes in here and does what he seems to always do, and that's score goals. So I think he'll inject a little offense into the lineup along with Duke and Granlund. So like we talked about a little bit earlier on this call, it's everyone chipping in to add a little bit more offense to the group and kind of help replace some of the offense and not be so reliant on Erik as we were at times last year.
And finally, for me, Mike, and thank you for all your time today. There was a report a couple weeks ago that you guys were interested in Vladimir Tarasenko. First, just were those reports true? And second, if you guys were, how would a guy like that kind of fit into just your vision for the team this coming season?
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the forwards that we did explore earlier in the summer. We had some conversations with them, but you know, the idea was basically to try and inject someone who can put some offense into the lineup. I think that was really the thought. You know, we kind of had an idea of that we might need to replace Erik at some point, whether that was this summer or during the season. And you know, we felt like we needed to add some more scoring. We added Duke, which will definitely help. And you know, Eki comes in and Eki earns a spot, he should help. But we thought maybe we could add a little bit more scoring, and so that's why we looked at him. And now, you know, we have Hoffman, who you know, is not too dissimilar of a player, as someone who should be able to add some goals to the lineup.
All right. Thanks again, Mike. Have a good summer. You deserve a break there.
Yeah, thanks, Shane. I appreciate it. You too.
Okay, if we have no more questions here, that will wrap the call with Mike. Appreciate you taking time out of your schedule today. Appreciate everyone's patience here on the call. If we have any more updates, we will let you know. Thanks, everyone.